Welcome back to the Ken Matthews Report. My pleasure to have the 20 million view man on the show, Representative Adam M. Morgan. And we weren't even going to talk about that initially, and then it just went so viral. Representative Adam Morgan of South Carolina. And tell us about the exchange. I'll play it later, but tell us about the exchange that got you recognized across the country with conservatives and got all these major conservative talk show hosts cheering for you.
Yeah, it was a pretty wild experience. I was just taking the debate floor in South Carolina in the House of Representatives, and we were dealing with a $1.3 billion taxpayer handout to Volkswagen to try to coax them to come and make a Scout Motors plant to make electric vehicles in Colombia.
Uh-oh.
And yeah, of course, you know that the electric vehicles is a failing market. I mean,
Yes.
VW just shut down the plant, the EV production in the UK, because they said there wasn't demand in the EU for them.
Wow,
and they're going to make it.
Yeah, you didn't see that in the news.
Yeah, but they're going to make it in Colombia, and hopefully that the American market is going to be a lot better when we don't even have the grid and the structure for it. It was laughable. And they're using $400 million of taxpayer cash to do this, literally writing a check from the reserve fund, handing it to a private company, which is unheard of. It's unprecedented in South Carolina. This deal broke all the records. And it's all propped up by Biden subsidies and pushing like the green energy plan that the WEF and all these guys have for the future of the world.
Right.
And it's nothing that South Carolinians want. I mean, they don't want these kind of they generally don't want the vehicles. They're not buying them, much less we don't want our tax money going to these projects. When if you drive in South Carolina, our roads are terrible. Our schools aren't doing great. DSS doesn't have enough beds for kids in the foster care system. So our core government functions are not fully funded. Law enforcement haven't gotten their pay raise, but yet we're just pouring all this taxpayer cash into a private company so that politicians can go say that they created jobs, that they got this, big mega deal.
It does sound like a photo op. Yeah.
Yeah, government doesn't create jobs. Every conservative should know that.
Right.
And so that was the debate. We're just talking about, I had already voted once on it and voted against, and I went home that night and I got all these attack texts in my district saying that I was anti-job, that I was like AOC, that I was like, are you kidding me? Like, just because I vote against, something that I know my constituents want me to vote against, you're going to send attack text to try to get me to flip my vote the next day. And so there were even like digital ads on social media. If you pulled up Facebook in my area, it would say Adam Morgan is killing jobs. So I went back to the session that next day and I spoke on the bill because it was the final vote on it. And I just simply said, I had 60 constituents reach out to me, take the time to call me or email me and say, vote no on this crony deal, vote no, this doesn't, it's pushing. The VW is going to require all of the companies that work with them to be ESG compliant.
Oh, no.
Actually, yes. So
it's such a grift.
Yeah.
It's such a scam. It just pulls everybody into this fallacy that electric vehicles work. Only one company made a profit last year. It was Toyota, and that's only because they decided to do some hybrid stuff. They said, we're not doing any EVs. We'll play hybrid games because they've done hybrids for 15 years. But it's a failure. And you identify that, and then you get attacked.
Yeah, and let's be honest, it's not just the failing market. It's not just that it's going to push ESGs on all these companies and bring in all these workers from out of state, and it's messing with our economy. It's also on the taxpayer dime. So we're going to alter our culture and force all these other companies that are going to have dealings with it in South Carolina to be ESG compliant, which is a social credit score. Like if you're not green enough, if you're not woke enough as a company, you're not going to get the business. So it's literally using our tax money to, oppress our citizens with leftist woke garbage. And so I simply said, all of my constituents that talked to me said vote no. I haven't had a single one tell me to vote yes. This is on the heels of they had pushed this big Panthers deal where we were gonna build a Panthers stadium for the Carolina Panthers.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, and they were like, this is a great deal. And I voted against that, and they got mad at me and tried to attack me. Well, guess what? That deal fell through, and we had 20 tons of steel sitting out in a field after building a massive interchange to nowhere, and the whole deal fell through, and the taxpayer were left holding the bag. So I'm like, sorry, I've been there. I voted against that one. Thank goodness. Well, here I am. So I simply said my constituents don't want me to support it, and immediately, I mean, all the uniparty, Rhino Republicans and the liberals all jumped up to try to debate me and try to attack me, saying that I was anti-job. And I think that was like on minute 25 or minute 30 or something of me standing up at the well, fielding all these questions.
Right, which
And
you were answering very well, by the way.
well, I hope so. But that was the minority leader. So that's the lead Democrat in the House. He jumps up and starts asking me all these questions, and he's a high dollar attorney at the top of his profession. So he's really laying into it. And I got where I was actually kind of having fun, because it was, to me, it got easy. It's like, guys, like, we're talking about conservatism. I know this. Like, I know my values. Yeah. I know what my people think. Like, I can do this all day. And that's when he really said the quiet part out loud, that I think is what really made the video go viral.
Yes, that's what resonated with me. And for people who don't know, Representative Morgan is also the Freedom Caucus chair of the South Carolina State Freedom Caucus. If you're wondering, if my audience is very conservative for the most part, or libertarian. So if this guy's resonating with you and you're like, who is this guy? Where is he from? We need to clone him. No, we're not going to do cloning yet. But
they're my people. That's what you're telling me.
Yeah, and the guy, he handed it to you on a platter. He basically said, "You silly voters, you don't know what you're doing, constituents."
Yeah, they're stupid.
Yeah, exactly. That is the left, and they have that attitude from healthcare to industry. And I'm so glad you brought up things like World Economic Forum, and they want to do a 15-minute city. They want to do 15-minute cities in South Carolina, and Arizona, and Nevada. And so this guy, what was the things that he said to you? And I noticed you never really got mad. You almost were. You were like, I saw a light go off in your head, like, oh my God, I'm so glad you said that, because you just won the election for a whole bunch of conservatives,
Yeah, exactly. And even while he's talking, you can hear me going, oh,
I know.
Like I'm trying to help him. I literally was helping him. Like, dude, do you hear yourself? Like, And he says, you're telling me you think we should listen to the folks back home over the experts in commerce who have made all these deals, and your people who don't understand subsidies and don't understand how to do a mega deal. They've never done anything big in their life. And it was just such elitism, such derision for the common man, the people that you represent. I mean, you are a representative. It's right there in the name, dude.
Mm-hmm.
And don't think for a second that this was the left. Like, but the Rhino Republicans in South Carolina, we're a super majority. I mean, this deal came from Republicans. Democrats just jumped on board because they salivate over any government plan ever.
Right.
And the Rhinos were just as bad, making the same arguments. And so this is it's a endemic problem really across politics in both parties.
Yes.
And it's this uniparty. And I used to hate that phrase. I used to think it was like a conspiracy theory kind of sounding.
Then you saw it was true.
It's absolutely true. And it's a uniparty who are beholden and controlled by special interests, by lobbyists. Yep. And like that's what they have in common. That's what their core values are, is what does the lobby want me to do, and how can that advance my interests, by advancing theirs. And we just don't have enough people in politics who are really there to fight for their constituents.
And and I think that South Carolina has always had a rhino problem.
Yeah.
Because, the same way that the Democrats over the years have taken certain constituencies and demographics for granted, and now that's falling apart. President Trump is demonstrating that on the campaign trail. South Carolina has, I think, the rhinos have always taken conservative, hardworking, middle-class people for granted. They've taken that for granted, that, well, I've got a big GOP behind my name, so I've got your back. And I think the people of South Carolina, I think the people of most states are too smart. They understand that these people are trying to maintain power, and they always make a profit off this. I can almost guarantee that somebody put money in their pocket over that Panther Stadium deal.
That's what's so frustrating, because the reality is the whole idea that we're going to invest taxpayer money into the private sector. We're going to take it from certain taxpayers, from families, from other businesses, stick it in government bureaucracies, and then let bureaucrats hand this money to favored companies. Well, guess who they hand it to? People who pay lobbyists to come and lobby for the money, or people that are business associates or friends of the people in commerce or the people in the legislature. So it literally is encouraging cronyism. I mean, there's no reason the government using state power should take other people's tax money and literally hand it out to competitors of those people they took the tax money from. It's picking winners and losers. It's socialism. It's government planning. And they try to argue, oh, well, we want to develop certain industries and we want to pick where these jobs need to go so we can spread it out. It's like, that's not your job. Like, do your core government functions, make your roads great, have your police be great, your justice system be great, your schools be great, and then get out of the way. Like, you don't need to plan the family. You don't need to plan the economy. Like, just literally government, get out of the way. And that's what our platform says as Republicans. So it's literally, like you said, it's a rhino problem, but it's a uniparty problem. And South Carolina is the worst. We're always ranked as one of the most liberal Republican controlled states. And that's why we started the Freedom Caucus. We were fed up with business as usual. We were fed up with Democrats who literally just switched parties and now run the Republican Party. And we fight them every day. And when we hit, we draw blood. And that's why they hate us.
You just said draw blood. That's the next
a bloodbath. I'm sorry.
It's the next bloodbath.
You're going to get censored on social media. I'm so sorry. It
wouldn't
be the first for me.
Oh my gosh. I need quiet space.
Yeah.
No, I'm just thrilled that there's freedom Caucus, as the late Rush Limbaugh used to say.
Yeah.
Caucus, probably in 20 states now.
Yeah.
And I know Pennsylvania has one, which is my state at the moment, and my home state. And so it's just great to hear someone younger, comfortable and truly talking about these are constitutional values. They're not just conservative values. And we've allowed the media, we've allowed rhinos to steer us so far from the power of the Constitution that we, the people, have the authority. We give you the authority.
Yeah.
Everything needs to be run by us. And there's this delusion that it's the opposite. There's the delusion that the senator's here. All hail the senator.
Yeah,
no,
he knows best.
It's backward. The senator needs to show up and says, wow, this is quite a crowd. I better be on my best behavior. So we've allowed this to be backward, and every single grift deal in Washington, as you've mentioned, the Republicans and the Democrats get a taste. That's why Mitch McConnell are always elbow bumping, and there's always a lot of high-fiving with Liz Cheney and Nancy Pelosi. They're buddies at lunch. And then it's like the great philosopher George Carlin said, maybe you studied him in school. It's a club and you ain't in it.
Yeah.
It's this big club and none of us are in it. And we have to, like you said, I wish there were more Freedom Caucus people, but
we're growing.
Yeah, you are growing,
but
we're
on the move.
The sad thing is, and I noticed too, I was looking over your membership, you have the same kind of format as a lot of the other Freedom Caucus state members have, that say some members are anonymous. Because and I'm not making light of that at all, because anybody who speaks out for the people, for the Constitution like this, the heat you're getting. Now, fortunately for you, now that you're a celebrity online, every podcaster dreams of getting a viral video, and you go out, you just do your job and fight for your constituents, and you earn this viral video. It's great. And now everybody wants to have you on the show, which I think is great. You said you're going on Fox coming up.
Yeah.
You're going on Jesse. And see, I think it's good to bring that up because you are young. Conservatism is becoming more appealing to young people. Thank God.
Because it works.
Yeah, because it works. And once we isolate somebody, and not in the sense of like Biden would do. I mean, once you say, hey, listen to this, check this out. So what is next? As far as, I wanted to ask you about illegal immigration too before you went, and the toll it's taking on South Carolina. I know you have over 100,000 illegals that you're aware of in your state.
Yeah.
Now, are the rhinos down there and the leftists down there, are they encouraging bring them in, amnesty, give them free stuff? Is that the same thing happening in your state?
Yeah, well, in my state, we actually had a bill last year that was supposed to be a school safety bill. They were pushing the bill through, and one of my members found in the bill it had a change to allow easier licensure for illegal immigrants so that they can get easier work permitting to work in all these other extra jobs in South Carolina. Well, we brought it to the attention and amended to take it out. And the bill sponsor, who's in top leadership in the House, goes, "Oh, I didn't know that was in there." And meanwhile, so I'm running for Congress right now too in the
Oh, now
fourth
that's something
district.
I didn't even know that. So
Yeah, so
that's incredible.
in that congressional race, my opponent actually voted to give illegal immigrants welfare, and it's one of the main things that's motivating me and a lot of other people to be like we've got to get rid of these. These are Republicans who
Right.
vote like this and think like this. And the same day he took a picture at the border saying I'm tough on the border, and then he flew to Washington and voted to give illegal immigrants welfare, which is what's incentivizing them to come here. And
I
so
mean, Republicans and conservatives really have never had this much. I don't want to say ammo because that'll trigger someone. You've
yeah,
never had this much information and failure to showcase
yes,
from the
from
left.
the
And
left, yeah,
so you've got the immigration problem has been fueled by the Bidens, and it's really destroying the country at so many levels. And then you have Republicans okay with it. So there's it's a multi-layered problem that even when you do get a win, you got to look over your shoulder and wonder if the uniparty or some
yeah,
rhino like Mitch McConnell is going to negate your win. That's something I've
yeah,
noticed. The Freedom Caucus, they get so far, whether it's with Mayorkas or funding or Ukraine, they get so far and they're making so much progress, and then their own people
yeah.
shut it down. And that's you're going into the lion's den if you go to DC.
Yeah, but that's why you've got to elect good people, and it's a numbers game. We need as many strong conservatives as we can get, because the more you get, the more power they have to affect change. And in South Carolina, you mentioned that we had what was it, secret members or whatever. We actually don't in South Carolina anymore, because
Oh, that's good.
they kicked us out of the Republican caucus because we wouldn't sign a loyalty pledge to never campaign against a fellow member or call them out or talk about how they vote or even share pictures of the public voting board. They wanted
So
us to sign a pledge to
the
never share
Republicans did
pictures.
that.
Yes.
The
And so
Republicans said you can never campaign against me.
yes, and there's no other pledge in the country for any caucus, Republican or Democrat. It is unprecedented, and they literally made us sign a pledge saying that we would never even share pictures of the public voting board. Like, that's public record, because it made Republicans look bad for how they were voting. And we refused because one of my members said, "Well, what if somebody does something illegal or immoral?" Because he had just replaced a guy that got busted for giving alcohol to minors and doing a lot of other terrible things. And
Jeez.
they said, "Yeah, no, even in that circumstance, you can never campaign against somebody." We're not signing away our right to speech, like our political speech. And so
Right.
they kicked us out of caucus. Well, guess what happened? All 17 of us have kicked us out of Republican caucus. Well, then one of the guys that pushed it, one of the top leadership, was busted for a pay-to-play scheme where he was telling lobbyists, "Give me campaign cash and I'll move your bills out of my committee." And he's
Holy.
still in leadership. He's never been removed. They haven't called him out because they signed a pledge to not do it. Meanwhile,
Wow.
we have an assistant majority leader, Republican, who was a Democrat, worked on John Kerry's campaign, ran as a Democrat, lost, switched parties, ran as a Republican. Now he's the assistant majority leader. He was on stage at a lobbyist function just the other week, begging them and saying, "You've got to open your wallets and you've got to fund candidates against these Freedom Caucus guys. They're awful. We've got to get rid of them. Do everything you can." And then they're everything wrong with politics, and he hands the microphone to the head Democrat in the Senate, and he goes, "Oh, I couldn't agree more. These people are the worst thing in politics. We all agree they got to go." And I was like, can you get a better picture of the uniparty? Like, Republican hacks who have switched parties and have no core values, leadership from the Democrats begging lobbyists to come in and get rid of the conservatives who are actually listening to their constituents. Like, that is Washington. That is every swamp in all 50 states.
Mm-hmm.
And like, we've got to beat it. Like, we've got to fight it with transparency, with boldness. That's what I've done at the state level. We beat them almost every week. It's a lot of fun. You got to see a clip of it.
Yeah, I
Go
I love
viral,
watching
and
it. It's always fun watching Freedom Caucus people. I
it
watched
is. But But it's because we literally do what people want, and we're
Yes.
actually fighting. And so that's why I'm running to get up to Washington. I want to join that group and really take this conservative movement in South Carolina to an even bigger stage and really continue the momentum we've got in the state. So
Now,
y'all should check me out. It's voteadammorgan.com is my website.
voteadammorgan.com. And will you commit to coming back on my my little podcast here?
Yeah, I would love to.
That would be great. Representative Adam Morgan, the chair of the South Carolina State Freedom Caucus, and you're also running for Congress. You said what district? 4th?
Yeah, Greenville, Spartanburg, SC4.
Well, God bless you. Stay in the fight, Representative, and I'm so glad you took time to come on my show. And I'll be watching you become a celebrity. I don't think Stephen Colbert's going to have you on, though.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. Maybe he'll come around.
You never know. You never know.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you again.
Thanks for having me on. Good talking with you.